Hello everyone, welcome to my Incredible Chess channel. Well, I'm going to continue with my Incredible Chess classic series. Last time we looked at Mikhail Tal's very fascinating game where he sacrificed his queen. I hope that you have watched it. If you have not watched it, do check it out in the channel. Well, today also I'm going to show you one of Tal's amazing game, that too against Boris Spassky. Well, Tal and Boris Spassky are both very strong players. They are both world chess champions, and this game which they played in Montreal 1979 was also very interesting game. Both of these players were kind of old at that time, you can say, and Tal considerably older than Spassky, but Tal's magic was amazing. You can say like he was the magician on the chessboard. We all know this thing, and the way he played in this game is really very instructive, like how to conduct the attack, how to attack on your opponent's king and everything. You can learn a lot of things from Tal as well as Spassky also, how to defend and everything. So let's begin this game. Before we move further, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you are new here, and let's start. White starts with d4. In this game, Spassky is white, Boris is playing the regular opening, you can say, d4. Tal replies with knight of 6, which is little bit, you can say, flexible, because after knight of 6 you can play Grunfeld defense, you can play King's Indian, you can play Nimzo. So guessing game is still there. Okay, so white continues with c4, e6, and now he plays knight of 3. Well, if you play knight c3, bishop b4, it will be Nimzo Indian. If you play d5, it will lead to queen's gambit declined opening. So Spassky says I'll play knight of 3, and the game is going to be leading to queen's Indian defense. Okay, now Spassky, after knight of 3, Tal plays b6, white plays e3, bishop to b7, continuing with the development of the bishop. Bishop d3, white also develops the bishop, and now Tal comes up with d5 move. He wants to strike in the center of the board. The pawn on c4 is kind of attacked, so white saves the pawn. And also one thing is that white wanted to develop this bishop, but as the pawn is on e3 square, there are no prospects for white to play e4, because that square is very heavily guarded by black. So he has to do something with the bishop on c1. So he decides to play b3 in order to play bishop b2 or bishop a3 in future. Okay, Tal continues with his development. Both the bishops are eyeing towards potential weakness on the king side, you can say, after white castles on the king side. So white castles on the king side, Tal also goes for the castle. Bishop to b2 was played. The knight comes into the game. So step by step, both the players are bringing pieces in the game. White also develops the pieces, black also develops pieces. So this position seems to be about equal, and that is true. It is equal position. Now Tal continues with his development. He plays queen e7. Now after playing queen to e7, both the rooks are connected. This is a very important quality of a strong player, I will say. Before doing anything in the opening, they don't go for small things. They always complete their development. Once their development is complete, then they start opening up the game. Okay, so Spassky also goes for the same thing. He develops his piece. Tal brings the rook in the game. Rook at d8, queen c2 was played, and now maybe at some point if c5 comes on the board, it will be a little bit troublesome. So Tal says, okay, let me play c5 move by myself. Then he plays c captures d5, e captures d5. Bunch of exchanges happen in this position, and now Tal is having these two pawns which are kind of weak, you can say, because there is no pawn on e6 or b6, because those pawns have already moved to d5 and c5. Now in this position, although these pawns are considered to be slightly weak, but this is like a spring theory. What is there? Like spring theory means, like in chess it is called as potential energy. Behind these pawns, this bishop is there, right? And other pieces are also there. Once that bishop opens up, you will have a lot of attacking possibilities. So that is the potential energy is there in this bishop on b7, and it will be doing a lot of things, I will tell you now only. Okay, so the idea is to play d4 at some point. Here, in order to control d4, Spassky plays queen c3, and now in this position, Tal simply develops his piece. He plays rook f8. Now Tal has developed all his pieces. Okay, I'll tell you one normal thing also, that whenever you are going to open up the position, it's always better to regroup your pieces on the side, or wherever you want to open up the position, your pieces should be ready. For example, if I tell you a normal story, if you have a big castle, okay, you are having an attack in the position, like if you want to attack on your opponent is outside the castle, you are inside the castle, so whoever opens the gate, that side will be having some advantage. We can think like that, but it is actually not true. Whoever is actually ready near the gate, that side will have advantage if the gates are opened up. Okay, so here in this position, black wants to open up the gate, you can say the center of the board, but he needs to be prepared, so that's why he gets the pieces in the game. White also does that same thing. White plays rook f d1, and now after this all this development, Tal finally said like it's time for me to open up the game, so he plays d4. Now e captures d4, c captures d4, the queen is under attack, so he goes for queen to a5. Although queen c2 would have been much better choice in the position, one more thing is also there. This pawn can be captured, which I think was a very wise choice if he had done that thing, because here in this position Tal really doesn't really have that many threats in the position. He can even try to think about knight d5, or even queen can come to e5 square, try to threaten here, but knight can always fall back to f3 square, you can say, or this knight can come here and white will be defending the position. One might be idea knight d5 can be there attacking the queen. If the queen moves, then knight f4 and knight g2, knight will be attacking on d3. All those threats might be there on the board, so maybe because of that reason he did not go for this thing. Another idea which I think was his main concern in the position, that was bishop captures h2. This might be one of the ideas in the position, but actually it is not that much helpful, because after knight g4 check, king can come up on g3 square, and well, after king comes up we can still give a check, but after f4 I think white is kind of holding on to the position, because black doesn't really have that many pieces to attack on the king, and it might be survival, like he can survive, like maybe queen e3 check will be given, knight will come to f3 square, and the game will continue. So maybe he did not want to do that thing, but knight d4 was definitely worth a try, but because of the bishop captures h2, he was kind of scared to allow that Greek sacrifice, and he did not go for that thing. So he played queen to a5, which was also a possible move, and now Tal brings the knight into the game, centralizing the knight. One more idea of knight e5 is like this bishop should be opened up completely, but the knight on f3 is blocking that bishop, and the knight on f3 is the main defender of white's king, so he wants to exchange his opponent's main defender. Okay, so here knight captures e5 was played, bishop captures e5, and now after this Spassky played knight c4, anticipating that this bishop might go somewhere, but there are always some kind of idea is there that these sacrifices can come anytime. Bishop captures h2, knight g4, bishop into g2, but Tal says like, okay, even if I go for that sacrifice, I'll not be having complete domination, I need one more piece in the attack. So that's why here in this position he comes up with a very beautiful move, rook to d5. Now he has covered everything. Rook comes on d5, it is attacking the queen, and when we will be capturing pawn on h2, the rook will be moving to h5 square, and we'll be having yet another strong piece in the attack. Now the queen moves to d2 square, now he captures on h2, king captures h2, rook to h5 check. Well, of course, there was one idea of king f1 also, but then black will be simply pawn up. So Spassky in this position takes up the challenge, he captures the bishop, rook to h5 check, king g1. Okay, here king g3 was also one of the moves, but then we can simply play knight to e4 check, bishop captures e4. The idea of knight e4 was to open up the queen, so now queen comes on h4 check, king f3. Now we can simply capture on e4, king g3, and then we can capture on g2, and I think it is going to be a checkmate very soon, because we can simply play queen f3 and it's a mate. Well, queen h4 was also a checkmate, which was possible actually. Okay, fine. So in the game king g1 was played, and now here he simply brings the knight on g4 square, and Spassky actually resigned in this position. But we will go a little bit further. Why did he resign? Let's suppose after knight to g4, white plays rook e1, attacking the queen. Then what to do? You can think about this position. Like, what do you think like Tal will play in this position? Well, I hope that you thought about this position and you came up with the beautiful move which is there on the board, that is rook to h1 check, sacrificing the rook. King captures h1. Now queen comes on the board, that is on the h4 with a check. Now king g1, and now it leads to checkmate after queen h2 check, king f1, and queen captures g2, check and mate. Look at this bishop. It worked its wonders till the end. Because of this bishop, he won the game. So that's how you should build up your attack. You should get your pieces in the game, and then only you should go for the sacrifice. A very good lesson by the master of tactics, you can say, the magician from Riga, Mikhail Tal. We'll be meeting very soon in the next video. Stay tuned. Thank you very much and see you.